Hello, everyone. Tonight we are playing the Steadfast and the Rebellious, which is a game by W.H. Arthur. This is I guess, a storytelling game about a rebellion, and I guess, some key participants in that rebellion living in this kind of fantasy city. Though all those details have yet to be decided. My name is Donna. My pronouns are he, him. And let's quickly go around the table to get introductions from our players before we properly start in. Kay, do you want to go first?
Sure thing. My name is Kay. My pronouns are she, they. This is my first time playing the Steadfast and Rebellious, so sounds like a very interesting game and very much looking forward to playing it with all of you.
Cool. Right, yeah, my name's Neil. Pronouns he, him. Yet again, yes, that's the first time playing Steadfast and Rebellious, but it sounds interesting, so yeah, looking forward to it.
I mean, it's also my first time playing the Steadfast and Rebellious, so yeah, it looks neat, and yeah, I've played a game recently by this author, so yeah, it looks really interesting. So we have a tab for the city where we kind of keep track of everything about this place. I guess the introduction: we are all inhabitants of the city, and we have been living in false peace under the rule of the Demon King. The last wall, which offered your city limited protection against the Demon King's tyrannical rule, has now fallen. Citizens are left with two choices: do everything the tyrant demands or resist. And I guess we play to find out whether we will rise victorious against the Demon King or will our resistance be futile. So yeah, we have I guess one key question and then kind of three details. So yeah, we should decide on the genre of our story. Is our city set in a Western medieval fantasy, steampunk, cyberpunk, or a mixture of different genres? So does anyone have any kind of firm thoughts or preferences on this?
No, no strong preference on my end. If anyone else has any thoughts.
No strong preference. No, I just sort of guess with it being a kind of a darker sort of theme, it's sort of images. I don't know. Well, it could either be medieval fantasy or steampunk, but kind of like more slightly industrial kind of feel, like late medieval or sort of a bit.
So like a little bit of steampunk in our fantasy.
A bit maybe, yeah, or something, yeah, so it's kind of a bit Warhammery kind of.
Okay, yeah.
Or steampunk, somewhere between those two sort of things.
Yeah. How does that sound, Kay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So I guess this is like specify the genre. Grimdark fantasy. Is that the?
Yeah, so slightly industrial sort of this,
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Smoky and things and dark, buildings looming over the streets, that kind of thing.
Cool. So if you do have an idea for a picture for that, you can slot that in. Awesome. So then we have three questions. Where do we gather for our fellowship? So is it the Riverside Tavern where we drink and be merry, or an abandoned warehouse where we hold regular meetings, or the church roof where we admire the view and exchange stories? I mean, if we're going for kind of a Warhammer feel, I guess a dive on the riverside is very in genre, but I don't know, maybe some kind of abandoned warehouse or factory or proto factory or something like that.
Yeah.
Do we have printers presses? We could always meet at the meet above the printers.
Oh yeah. I mean, the start of any good revolution, right? We need pamphlets. Yeah, awesome. So like in the loft above the printing presses.
Which can be by the riverside in the
Yeah.
surrounded by shady abandoned factories if need be.
Yeah. Or yeah, abandoned warehouses of our once thriving, canal commerce. Okay, cool. And likewise, if you have a handy image for what that would look like, that can go in the box. Cool. What is the freedom? What is the symbol of freedom in the city? Is it the university where ideas are freely exchanged, or the town square where opinions are freely expressed, or the wedding registry where people are free to love? What do you think, Kay?
Well, we are. If this is kind of like one of the last holdouts against the Demon King, I don't know. Maybe there was some sort of central building or palace or governmental building in the city that has since basically become kind of rundown or quasi-abandoned or repurposed maybe for some other thing. I don't know, just kind of like a symbol of like there was some sort of other governmental structure or something. I promised something else before the Demon King, and now like that's barely holding together or is about to fall apart. It's very vague. Sorry.
Yeah. You mean like something official, or like a center of society, like a town market, or something where people used to gather that they no longer do?
Well, I guess maybe in Spirit of Rebellion, maybe it shouldn't be the official government. Maybe a market, kind of a de facto center of governance. Would it be possible that, for example, as the Demon King's rule closed in, right, people from other areas kind of flooded into the city? So now maybe like the market area is where a bunch of different people who kind of come to the city for all their different reasons to try to get away from the Demon King have kind of congregated. So sort of the form of ideas and commerce.
Neil, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there could be somewhere like in the market where everyone gathers, but like kind of like a speaker's corner or something like that, where because everyone's gathering there, there's space where people would talk to the crowds or something like that.
Okay. Awesome. And then I think the last question is, what was the last wall that protected the city from the Demon King? Is it an ancient treaty that is now void, or a benevolent leader that was assassinated, or a literal wall that has fallen? Any thoughts, Neil?
I'm just thinking. Not sure actually. I struggle with this one. I think maybe some like leader or someone who had assassinated, or someone who had struck a deal, or I don't know, a leader who managed to.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of someone striking a deal to sell out their people. What do you think, Kay?
Yeah, that sounds good, right? Well, we thought they were going to negotiate some sort of lasting
Yeah.
peace, but whoops.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Oops. Do we have a title for this Prince of the City, or like the Elector? If we
Um,
let's just call them the Prince. It's pretty
Prince,
generic.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And now people refer to him by other single
Other,
syllable
yeah.
epithets. Yes.
I'm sure there's a law against that kind of stuff now, but no one can find out where those scurrilous pamphlets are being printed. Right?
True.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Do we want to give our city a name, or are we happy with just the city?
I'm quite happy with just the city, I think. Then I'm rubbish with names, so.
Names are always difficult. But
Else, who isn't rubbish with names and got a good name, then please.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, just the city.
Okay, yeah, I think we got a good sense of the city now. Some really cool details. So yeah, we go on to the Fellowship. So here, so I guess there's 4 classes, and these are associated with the 4 suits of the deck. We each pick one of these. It's not like at random or anything. We just can pick who, what kind of classic class we want to play. So club is for fighter, spade is for thief, diamond is for mage, and heart is for cleric. So yeah, we'll hide the one we don't use. Maybe it's a member of our group who has fallen, earlier in the fight. But yeah, does anyone have any inclinations? Okay, do you want to pick first, or do you prefer to be for the choice to be a little bit removed?
I'm okay with not picking
Okay.
first. Just seeing what other folk like.
Yeah, Neil, how about you?
I always think about the cleric.
Okay.
Because when I first played D&D, that was my first character as a cleric, and I haven't played it for like decades. Hold on. Yeah, I just want to, for some reason, yeah, cleric.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going along those lines, which is a great way to. I mean, this is the first time I played a vaguely Dungeons and Dragons game in quite a while, so maybe I'll go with a thief then. So I'll fill out my name for that. So, okay, you have a choice between the fighter and the mage.
Oh, well, we've got the cleric, so the cleric can handle the thinking and the make words good part. So yeah, I'll do the fighter, round out the squad.
Okay, cool. So I will hide all mage. Okay, awesome. So with character generation, we yeah, so obviously we give our character a name or a nickname and pronouns, and then we each draw 4 cards from the deck. we're going to use 3 of those cards. One is on our history, and the other 2 are on our bonds with the other 2 characters. So if you look at the drop downs next to, say, history, you will see that you got a 5 in the drop down, 1 for any court card, and then 1 for each of the 4 suits. And the same is kind of true throughout the character paper. So yeah, if you jump over to playingcards.io, you can grab 4 cards for yourself. So I've gotten my 4. Okay.
Right.
How are we all doing?
I think I've got it mostly.
Oops, forgot to punch in the name.
Okay, so how about we do a quick introduction of our characters, and then we can do our history as part of that introduction, and then we'll maybe do the bonds around the table uh, once we know what people are like. So I'll start. I'm playing Malice, she/her, who is the thief. The description here for the thief is: the spade is a tool. You approach problems with your skill and finesse. You are driven by your honor, enemy corruption. That's interesting because the card I played into history, it was a club. I took lives as an assassin. Did your victims deserve it? So maybe it's by a sudden sense of honor, or the idea that she was used as a tool. I think maybe she had um, assassinated people um, for the prince, and had thought, but maybe didn't dig too deeply, that the victims deserved it, that they were true enemies of the city. But maybe she didn't look too deep. Okay. Neil, how about you?
All right, so my character's name is Kel, he, him. So he's a cleric. So the diamond represents clarity, solve problems with your smarts and magic. You're driven by desire for truth, enemy deception. So, and for history, I just support card. So you belong to a religion that is now a mouthpiece of the Demon King. How do you come to terms with that? So yeah, I think it's driven by desire for truth. So I think he publicly denounced the religion and was sort of cast out or ran before. do, you know, casting irons or something, and so tries whenever possible to speak out against, you know, the Demon King and the religion, or the religious organization anyway. That's the fact that the religion sort of sided with the Demon King.
Cool. And Kay, how about your fighter?
All right. So Sergeant, pronouns are she, her. And I think it's probably because she used to be some sort of low-level NCO type officer, perhaps actually also working for the prince, or maybe in some sort of either the city's guard corps or the prince's own guard corps. Let's see, and she taught people to fight who are your students. So I think maybe again she was some sort of low-level trainer back when she was serving the prince. Again, teaching some of the new recruits how to fight, but maybe not someone who was actually particularly battle tested. But in light of the prince's betrayal, she has decided now she's going to teach the people to fight. So, you know, anyone who is interested, sorry. So I think she probably left quit the prince's service, and now is, you know, maybe in the marketplace, right? If she finds people who seem interested in fomenting a bit of unrest or self-defense, is now again, yeah, just teaching the people to fight. But again, you know, asterisk that maybe she doesn't disclose and hasn't actually fought in earnest before. So.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's do a round of bombs. So we got 2 each. So I think I will start with Sergeant. So you know, despite your lack of practical war experience or battle experience, the option here is they rescued you when you were in trouble. What sort of mess did you get yourself into? I mean, it isn't necessarily fighting, but you know, some kind of trouble. What do you think?
Let's see. Well, I think if she also technically served, you know, as in official capacity for the prince, maybe she has access to uniforms or ways to get people in and out of areas, or did. And maybe she worked together with Malice in some way, again, to try to, as part of maybe cover for Malice in some way to get Malice out of the tight spot.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if Malice had made her resignation in the palace, like in front of the prince, and was being taken away, or maybe was like
Oh, that's
told to
true.
wait here. You know, maybe Sergeant, you know, threw a uniform jacket over her and smuggled her out or something like that.
Yeah, I think that works.
Cool. Yeah, works for me. Neil, how about your first bond?
All right. I'll have to change around because I think it might be quite a similar scenario, because I've got you helped with the skeleton in their closet. How? So I chose I chose Malice for this one because I figured an assassin's probably gonna have more.
I got a lot of skeletons, yeah.
Yeah. Something like that, but I don't know what.
Um, I mean, you think maybe Malice killed the wrong person, and maybe that's like both you like helped them in like a confessorial kind of sense, but also maybe help them avoid the repercussions of that botched job.
Yeah. So yeah. So I guess before he sort of like the same sort of thing before he quits, maybe he's confessed or and helped cover things up. If Kerry's like could help you get out of there, maybe Kel could help sort of cover up some of the stuff that remained.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, um, yeah. That works. I think could maybe tie into my second bond. Maybe, but yeah. But more about that when we get to it. Okay, how about your first bond for Sergeant?
So open to thoughts on Kel, but I'm thinking maybe towards the beginning of their association in this kind of nascent rebellion, or maybe not rebellion, depending on how things go, because Kel did belong to a religion that is now a mouthpiece of the Demon King. I think maybe Sergeant might have been kind of distrustful of Kel. Again, both, is he really on our side? And also, again, as the cleric type character, right? The brains kind of character, like, maybe skeptical that his principles and maybe high-minded thinking would really stand up, to the test of what they might have to do. So I kind of think maybe some sort of argument over whether to accept him into the group slash political theory that kind of escalated into an actual sort of throwdown. But then Kel did win, and since then, Sergeant has had like a fresh new kind of respect and understanding for where he comes from.
Yeah, so good, because I've got down for that bond with Sergeant. They helped you in your crisis of faith. What caused that? So maybe yes. After that, both of us kind of came to some clarity after that. So yeah, maybe Kel was being a bit used to being like the leader, or the high priest, the priest kind of thing, leading the masses, and maybe coming into the revolution was kind of kept that
Right.
attitude, and maybe even though sort of run the fight, sort of realised that they were needed a bit of humility or something, maybe. Or,
yeah, and I think potentially kind of worked both ways, because again, Sergeant was not exactly commander of the troops, so I think she was also trying to kind of puff herself up as well, right, and kind of stand toe to toe with Kel, and it just had to get their differences out in the open.
Yeah, and then sort of made up and became friends, and kind of realised some maybe some home truths stuff came out.
Yes, and I think so I was thinking, yeah, it was something where actually Kel won fair and square, right? It wasn't some sort of sneaky headbutt with the mitre or anything like that. It was, he was not as he was not the kind of like a physical pushover that she took him for. That makes sense? Oh no. Yeah. Open the thoughts. Yeah.
I'm sensing like Friar Tuck energies. Cool. Awesome. So my second you'll see from my cards, I drew 3 clubs out of 4. So, but I'm playing a diamond for this one. So I'm wondering, Neil, if it makes sense if Kel would have hired Malice for a job. Maybe it's the same job that we were talking about earlier, the botched assassination.
Yeah.
So obviously that went badly.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have an idea for who the intended target was? Maybe it was like a lieutenant of the Demon Kings, and we messed up the we messed up the identification or something like that, and was all maybe a bit of a prelude to the prince surrendering.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think. Yeah, or maybe like things like a messenger or something, like somewhere to try and stop some communication or
Okay.
the negotiations going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like we were trying to cut off. I mean, maybe we knew that there was someone inside the city who was helping the Demon King and didn't realize it was going to be the prince, right? So
Yes. Yeah. Thought we'd got the right person, or
yeah, cool. Okay, that works for me. Neil, how about your second bond?
I think we kind of covered that with Sergeant, because it was, yeah, they helped you in a crisis of faith.
Okay, yeah.
We kind of, yeah, we kind of covered it at the same time.
Cool. Okay.
Let's see. They fought alongside you before. What were you fighting for? So I don't know if maybe this is actually before Malice quit, and this is why Sergeant decided to help Malice get out of the palace safely, even though she didn't have to. Let's see.
Maybe Malice, like before her life as an assassin, was just a regular soldier in the prince's guard, and you trained her.
Yeah, that might be interesting, actually. Yeah. And at that time, you know, it could have been something where, I don't know, maybe there was some sort of unrest at that time, while they were both sort of even more junior in the guards, that they did put down, maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe both younger and less wise, even though they are now, and being a tool of the prince, kind of makes sense. Awesome.
Right. Stop the Deadly Cheesemongers Rebellion of the year 576.
Oh, those cheesemongers, huh? Okay, awesome. So our next part is kind of the active instigation of the rebellion rising up. But I think maybe we can take a break instead of take a break where it makes sense right now instead of a little bit later. How does that sound?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So I have 8 minutes to the hour. So come back on the hour.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So in the next part of our story, we ask what incited our characters to revolt, what are our weapons against the Demon King, and what are our current obstacles. So for this part, I think we can technically ditch all of our cards into discards because I don't think we use them again for anything. So that's like the 3 you played, but also the 1 you had in your hand. And then we draw another 4 cards. So let me do that first. Okay. So yeah.
All right. Sorry. I'm snagging some cards. Let's go up here. 4. Okay, all done.
So in
Remind me again,
this,
one in your
yeah,
hands
4
again.
cards. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Get rid of some else. Oh, discards. Sorry, 4 cards.
4 cards. Yeah.
I literally just said it, but right.
Yeah, but here again, as before, we have 3 selections at the bottom up in the rising up section. 1 for the incitation, 1 for your weapon, and 1 for your obstacle, and you don't play the 4th. So I guess we can, and I guess we'll go around this in turns. So yeah, I guess we'll go quiet again as I go through my cards and what my options are for these 3. It's a little bit involved. How are we all getting on?
Oh yeah. Keep picking.
Okay, so we all finalize, or are we thinking of moving things around?
So yeah.
It's quite the balancing act. Okay, so let me. I guess we'll start with the incitation. Let me start. So the inciting incident for me is the city officials are being paid off by the Demon King. What atrocities did they allow to happen? I mean, I think maybe what's happened is that they've just kind of after weeks or months of kind of low level tyranny, they finally realized that the marketplace is kind of the center of all of the strife from their point of view. So I think they have, anyone who steps on one of those soapboxes in the speaker's corner just gets carted off to jail. Like any of the notices that are up, anyone exchanging news of what's happened in the other places that have come under the Demon King's thrall, that they're being shunted off into the slums, and I think, this is kind of hitting at the heart of what we kind of all love about our city and the marketplace. And maybe this is kind of the final, the straw that broke the camel's back, right? This is everything else we could kind of lie to ourselves about, but this is like the final straw. I mean, for Malice at least. Neil, how about Cal?
All right, so let's go. Excuse me. Religions other than the worship of the Demon King outlawed. How was your pace of worship desecrated? So, so his religion became like the mouthpiece. So maybe they decided, proclaimed that the Demon King was like the Messiah or the prophet come back, and it sort of took over it. So they took down all the sort of like the previous religious symbols and replaced them with like the symbols of the Demon King, sort of in the churches and the altars and things.
What's happened to all of those symbols that were there previously? Have they been like melted down or burnt, or
maybe taken away, and kind of all the valuables melted down to go to the coffers of the Demon King and sort of looted, and or Kel's eyes sort of sold out, sold off to the trade them and handed over to the Demon King and his minions, except to the sort of the few that could be secretly rescued. So Kel, that was like the final straw that made him renounce the religion when that happened.
Okay, and Kay, how about Sergeant's inciting incident?
So I think, Sergeant always thought that they were kind of standing up for, the good of the citizens, right? Maintaining law and order in the city. But then I think, and then maybe it's a combination of some of the other two things, right? Maybe, again, they came from a more working class neighborhood, a neighborhood where there are a lot of people who actually were practicing the Kel's religion up until the switch to Demon Kingology. So again, these are, the citizens saw, or the people in Sergeant's old neighborhood again saw, hey, right, the places where they worship again had been changed over to worship of the Demon King. All the old rituals had been thrown out, disregarded, and then the marketplace, I think also, maybe they weren't the people on the soapboxes or things like that, but they could kind of feel the change in the air, the spillover. And then I think even regular everyday working citizens who fell under suspicion, or association, again, we're also getting caught up in some of these kind of sweeps. And then again, maybe when they started to, when there were the complaints, again, those are swiftly quashed by the authorities. So once Sergeant started noticing that, they kind of realized, yeah, like this is no longer something I can stand. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. Do we think like some of Sergeant's friends or families were caught up in this, or was it just the masses, the common people? Was there any like personal connection to these roundups?
Yeah, actually, I think some of the people she knew growing up, right, or maybe some family members again also, got caught up, or again, their businesses were impacted. Short of the one option that was actually someone you love was murdered by the regime, but still, yeah, she's kind of, okay, yeah, maybe that's it. Like once it became personal, like people I know are now getting impacted. So that's the last straw.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So the next thing we specify are our weapons. So yeah, because of my other two choices, I was denied the really cool ones. But it seems that Malice's chief weapons right now are her charm and wit. The question is, how do they get you out of trouble? I think maybe for the prince, it's a little bit embarrassing that they have lost control of their chief assassin. So I think it's a little bit hush hush. Maybe there's a small cadre of people hunting for Malice, but it's not generally known. So she still knows people in the guard, and they still know that she is working for the prince, or they still think she is working for the prince. So she has still got um, an in with them. She can still say the right words and have the right passcodes and all that kind of stuff, and just know them. So I think she's not above like buying them a drink down at the local in order to get a little bit of info out of them. Uh, so yeah, I think that's maybe how she stays out of trouble, but also kind of gets out of trouble if she does come up against the wrong people um, on her revolutionary path. Neil, how about Kel's weapon?
Right. Well, it wasn't maybe how I originally imagined it, but when talking about the like having the fight with Sergeant, and it was making me kind of think of Robin Hood and Little John sort of having a fight with the first, and then you said like Friar Tuck. So I think that seems to have been the image almost of come up of Cal. So I think originally maybe it wasn't like top level of the religion, but it's kind of fairly important, like that in charge of his particular church in the city. So when the order came down to take down all the symbols and dismantle them and hand over all the the valuables to the officials, Demon King, and that's where and when he sort of said, denounced it, and that was enough. There he's fairly well off, maybe nice expensive raiments, rings on his fingers and things, but since then he's sort of become a bit more humble, so maybe a bit more of that sort of humble friar with just the robe and the rope belt and things. So I think his photos for physical form, it's like more of a working class kind of weapon thing. So I think it's just that it's a staff that he gets. So it's kind of represents more of his new outlook, or his anger and things taken from like a big like quarterstaff kind of thing that he can smite his foes with.
I wonder, maybe, like, let me know how this sounds. If all of the kind of holy symbols were melted down, maybe this is like something that used to hold a holy symbol or a crozier or
So
something like that.
It would have been the thing like the start of the front of the procession.
Yeah.
That would have had the symbol on, but yes, but now it is lacking. Yeah. So you can create a until it's sort of restored to its rightful full form sort of thing.
Okay, cool. Okay, how about Sergeant's weapon?
So continuing on team bludgeoning weapons, I was thinking this was like one of those kind of ceremonial maces that used to be, maintained by the city guard or the princess guard. So it probably was not, again, only used on ceremonial occasions, but it probably looks pretty fancy. It's engraved, right? It's been maintained by the guard for a long time. And it's one of those, things where like it's supposed to be representative of the power of right and the power of rule, right? So as long as it is maintained, right, in say the Prince's Palace, the prince's rule shall be secure, something like that. So, but again, it was mostly ceremonial, which was why it probably was not as guarded as it could have been when Sergeant lifted it. And it might have been maybe at the same time that she and Mel's were leaving the palace, on their way out, like, let's just take this.
Just
not
to
coming
make
back.
sure we are flying under the radar. Take this great big ceremonial mace. I like
As your way out, just realise you're passing the sort of doorway that leads to where it's stored. You're like, hold on a minute.
Right.
That's a massive yoink on the way out.
Right. So maybe it makes sense that maybe Sergeant took it on her last day out. Just But
that's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, not a very recognizable weapon if other guards see it.
But it's 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 not like something that's going to shatter. It's a proper mace, right?
Yeah.
Just with a bit more guilt than than usual. Okay, cool. And then we define the obstacles we face. So yeah, I couldn't resist a vampire. Aside from blood, what else are they stealing from the citizens? I think in classic vampire form, there's a bit of hypnotism going on. Maybe there's some kind of light mind control. Maybe this vampire is now kind of the Demon King's lieutenant in the city, who makes sure that the prince is doing everything that they should do. I guess like a viceroy or something, whatever the term is. And they are, anyone who is looking like they are influencing the prince is, doing so through or via the vampire, right? So yeah, I think there's a bit of maybe there's a bit of turning people to be um, on the Demon King side here as well, or at least informing on their neighbors and all that kind of stuff. So maybe there's a lot of paranoia going around the city now. Neil, what's the obstacle that Kel is facing?
Right. So back up. So the obstacle Kel is facing, we've got cultists who worship the Demon King. So that would be the former members of his own religion and new people that have flocked to the new religion. But what makes them dangerous, I think, is because a lot of cultists, the fanaticism, they're willing to sort of do anything, willing to die for the Demon King. So you can't really reason with them. I think maybe like a lot of the higher up people of the church are just don't believe, but they're just covering because they want to stay. They'll lose their status or their fear. But then there's a lot of true believers who have the Demon King, who are the foot soldiers, as it were, could be sent out to do his bidding. So yeah.
Do you think these are like people who've come into the city from outside, or
I think
people,
maybe
locals?
I think there's some that have converted since the Demon King took control. People who've converted, or people, but maybe with a mixture of some that have come out to sort of boost up his forces, but also sort of locals who've either seen the writings on the wall and just sort of succumbed to the.
Do you think these are people you would have seen in your temple before, or
some of them? Yes, some
of
them have been people, maybe potentially people that he was familiar with, and things as well who have. But the word going out that the Demon King is actually the incarnation of the god, sort of, the true prophet, and some people have bought that and convinced this is the time they've been waiting for. So potentially some of his colleagues and things, as well as sort of worshippers that would have come into the temple, have become true believers of the Demon King.
Okay, cool. And Kay, how about Sergeant's pick here?
Okay, so I think the leader of the city guard has was a senior member of the city guard before, but has recently risen to the top. And I think maybe this is someone that Sergeant and perhaps Malice had known before. And maybe they seem to be, not particularly one way or another, but they've now risen to the top of city guard. And again, maybe all of a sudden they seem to be proclaiming their faith in this new Demon King cult, which again was not in line with their previous character. And have begun, participating kind of the oppression of the citizens, right? Taking people away. Maybe there are rumors, that, they're taking them away from some sort of weird purpose. I don't know if do people know about the vampire, or is it just rumors?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, I kind of like the idea of it being a lot of rumors and people noticing strange things, but also it's not like there's a Demon King, right?
Right.
They don't need to stay under cover So maybe everyone knows there's a vampire around the place, and that makes it even more horrible, right? That you there's a lot of paranoia, right? I don't know.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
I'm sorry.
maybe rumors that not only is he enforcing enforcing this new rule, but also again he may be complicit with the new leadership or the cult of the Demon King and some sort of darker activities. But again, a lot of rumors, and but people typically don't maybe make it out with a lot of hard evidence of what's going on.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so okay, that's the first half of Rising Up. So now we got to cut to the chase, as it were. Yeah, so I guess the preamble here is the horrible night of battle was over, and the light of dawn pierces through the darkness. You are alive for now. Did we win? What happens next? So, one by one, we draw cards that determine the result of your battle. By default, you draw one card, and then we go around the table and ask if the other players had your back during the battle. We draw an extra card for each yes. If you decide not to support anyone, you can draw 2 extra cards in your turn. And then we choose a single card from the new hand. So let me, because the choice, I guess there's no need to have this in the character keeper. So I will paste this section of the rules into the chat, so we all kind of know what we're getting into. So there's 3 options here. If you play a number card of your own suit, so your own suit is the one at the very top. So it's clubs for Sergeant, spades for Malice, and diamonds for Kel. If you play a court card of any suit, or if you play a number card of a different suit. So there's a kind of best to worst options. And then there's some questions that we answer at the end. So I guess I will go first, unless anyone wants to. So I want to get rid of all my cards. And I'm drawing 1 card by default. So yeah, I guess I will ask, is Kel supporting Malice in her struggle?
Yes. So basically, if I say yes, you get 1 card. If I
Yeah.
don't, I get 2 cards. Is that?
No. So if Kel is deciding not to support anyone at all, in your turn you'll be drawing 2 extra cards. In your turn. Yeah, so I guess you're kind of maximizing your own choices, your own chances, rather. But it's not like you can only support one person. It's kind of just like do we think we as a group really trust each other and or are all on side,
Okay, no, yes, I think I was supports.
Okay. So I'll draw an extra card for that. Kay, do you think Sergeant is supporting Malice in her struggle?
Yeah, I think they've been through enough and possibly been complicit in grand theft. So yes.
Okay, so I'm drawing a 3rd card. Okay, so yeah, this is not going well.
Oh no!
I'm just drawing some bad cards. Yeah, it is definitely not great. But anyway, so this is my best card, an 8 of hearts, which is a terrible defeat, battered and broken. So I guess what I'm maybe maybe what's happening here is that Malice's notoriety and seeming ability to get through any checkpoint, avoid any kind of pursuit, means that the vampire has decided to take a personal interest in Malice. and is, slowly, uh, you know, cordoning off sections of the city and influencing citizens to be informers and lookouts for them. Um, and I guess I'm wondering, like, maybe there's some detail that you want to add to the support that Sergeant or Kel give Malice. That should have helped, except didn't in the end make a pivotal difference.
Thinking maybe for Sergeant's side, right? Again, she also tried to levy her old connections in the Guard, but again, with this new, more relentless chief guard, things have also been changing. Again, potentially with some vampiric help. So maybe instead of like the help or the reliable insider tips that he was relying on to relay to Malice, again, they got some bad information or something like that. That led them astray.
Yeah.
Thinking maybe a similar thing, like Kel maybe knows some like people who still have the true faith, kind of the old faith. So he's got knows some like contacts and things that he can tell you when you get to this checkpoint or you do this, saying you can trust this person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe, maybe the scene here is of like a chase, across the rooftops or like across the canal locks, and I think finally we see Malice end up in a friendly tavern, and she sits at the bar and gets a drink, thinking she's safe, and like she doesn't notice, but like the bartender has been ensorcelled by the vampire, right? And like a special bottle of the vampire's blood is put into a wine glass, and Malice takes a drink, and then that kind of, uh, uh, you know, kind of, it's a struggle for Malice to kind of take action against the vampire and the Demon King from there on. But I think maybe she realizes that she has been fed this, and maybe we see her like go to the printing press to warn the others, of the real threat of this vampire. Okay, cool. So that's Malice. How about Kel?
Right. How many cards do I?
So you're drawing one for sure.
One, and
then you're checking in with the two of us to see if you have
right.
our support.
So yeah. So Sergeant and Alice, do I have your support?
Yeah, I think at this point, Sergeant's like, well, Kel's still in it, right? I can still have faith in Kel, so he's proven himself.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm not sure the timing, right, of these struggles. Yeah, so
this sort of support you could have given before.
Yeah. So definitely. So draw your third card.
Not much luck here either. Yeah. So. Yeah. So. No. So yes, another defeats.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, so maybe let's see. So Cal had word passed through his sort of network of that they were going to move some of the one of the last sort of batches of all the old holy symbols and altars, such as we're going to be taken to get melted down. So Kel and some supporters were going to sort of ambush it and steal them back. But so yeah, it was a trap. So he was fighting, he had his magic sort of staff, striking down on the cultists. They got attacked ambushed by the cultists, but there were sort of too many of them, and his colleagues were killed in the fight. And he's managed to sort of just get away, but injured, and not able to rescue any of the sort of the relics, whatever. So he's had to sort of stumble off into the streets, only barely sort of managing to avoid being captured by the cultists, who were sort of running through the alleys, things looking for him. And he's sort of slumped in some alley somewhere, sort of injured, just trying to keep low and to avoid capture. And then slowly going to try again make his way back to the printing press when he can, when the sort of the heat's moved on a bit.
Okay, Sergeant, your last hope.
Yes.
Okay. Does Sergeant have Malice's support?
Yeah, for sure.
And does Sergeant have kill support?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Come on, cards. Oh. All right, let's see. Number card of your own. Sweet. Okay, so court card of any suite. Victorious, but at a cost. Okay. So I think this might be the best we can do. So I think maybe while Kel was trying to lead this operation, to rescue the last set of holy symbols and other relics, Sergeant was supposed to be stirring up a distraction elsewhere in the city, again to lure the guards' attention away from where Kel was, and it did work, and Sergeant also bringing out this big shiny ceremonial mace definitely made an impression on the people who kind of saw this kind of seemingly impromptu uprising in another part of the city. However, without kind of Malice's kind of strategic support and planning and involvement, and with Kel's team also getting intercepted, and maybe Sergeant's operation was also kind of outnumbered. So it was successful in that, yes, there were people who saw, oh, it is possible to fight back, right? Someone has stolen the symbol of, the oppressive guards, right? However, again, there were some casualties or people who got scooped up again by the guards, and they had to retreat. So now, Sergeant is also kind of hightailing it back to the printing press, hoping to hear, hoping that the other two will be there, and hoping that, they were at least somewhat successful. But
Okay. So yeah, now we have our epilogue. So the dust settles. We take a few moments to gather our thoughts. As a group, we answer the following questions. Let me paste those into the chat as well. Yeah, I guess the first one is how do we see each other, have things. So I guess this is the start of the rebellion, right? It's not that it's, even though we are mostly suffering a terrible defeat on that first night, it's not the end of everything. How do we see each other, have things changed after the start of our rebellion?
Do we go in any particular order or just?
Well, it says we kind of answer, we ask and answer the questions
Mhm.
as a group. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I'm happy for anyone to go first if they have an idea. Maybe Kay, given that you were the most successful of us, you should lay the foundation of
Okay.
the epilogue.
Yeah, because I think you know, Sargent still has still of course has respect for Malice's abilities, and Kell's combination of intellect, right, and ability to hit people really hard. But I think because on this particular night it was her operation that was successful, she is now again maybe thinking this blunt force, right, this sheer force uprising is the way to go. And she is drifting away from kind of listening to maybe the counsel of Malice and Kell on strategy and thinking like, no, like get out there, crack some heads. That's the way. We're going to show the people how it's done, which may or may not be the best route against, the vampire and the Demon King. So.
Yeah.
Because yours, Sergeant, was the only sort of public kind of one. The others were more sort of behind the scenes, and because they failed, there wasn't anything to show. So, I think Sergeant She's probably become like the face of the Renaissance. Like, how's the rest of the city view us? Well, they're probably not really knowing about Malice or Kell much, but it's all sort of Sergeant was there holding this ceremony, the mace of the office and things. So she's probably become the face of the rebellion. And that means Malice and Keller maybe
Yeah.
pushed down a bit like behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think even maybe it's like not just that Sergeant is now the kind of natural leader of the rebellion, but like I don't think Malice now trusts herself because now she fears the influence that the vampire has over her, and also like no one. There's no handbook of vampire abilities, so maybe there's rumors going around that the vampire can see through the eyes of anyone who has tasted their blood. So maybe Malice is doing her own thing, or maybe like blindfolding herself before she meets with anyone important. Kind of hamstringing her own ability to help in the rebellion. Uh, yeah, so like the flavor, I think the tenor of our relationship has definitely changed. So the next question is, how does the Demon King respond? What nefarious plan is he putting into motion? Neil, do you have any ideas on this one?
I feel it should be something more targeted at Sergeant K. I don't know if you've got an idea what's no idea, because if you're the face of it, or maybe he's going to try and do something.
Well, I mean, the cultists did have a pretty good night last night, I guess. So I don't know if he's going to try to leverage.
Probably, use those more. So they were successful. So maybe he's going to.
I mean, maybe not only is worship of the Demon King the only religion, it's a mandatory religion now. So everyone is expected to attend these cult rituals. Does that sound nefarious enough for for us?
Yeah.
Um, any ideas if there is a targeting of Sergeant, or is that just something he hopes will come with growing influence on the rest of the city?
Well, I think maybe some targeting, because I think again, because again, she also is. They had the victory last night, but also she's not again a battle-tested strategist, right? So maybe part of the reason it was kind of a compromise victory at a cost is, yeah, she just doesn't have the strategy or tactics that maybe some of her companions might be able to bring to the table. So maybe some people did get scooped up, like more of the potential revolutionaries got scooped up than might have otherwise gotten away, or so maybe he's there also, being interrogated or something like that by the city guard. So maybe they've also got some potential information about the rebellion that they, again, that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like more of a, the vampires headed down to, to start the questioning or something like that.
Yeah.
And then,
and then just like rolling up anything, just get to the next person and work your way through until you find who you're looking for. Okay. And the last question is, how does the rest of the city view us? I mean, I think maybe one of the things that is, because Sergeant was like successful, and also she has that mace, maybe some of the rumors or conjecture now is that the prophecy actually says like whoever has the mace will rule the city, not whoever rules the city will do so as long as they have the mace. So maybe there's some propaganda on our side too that's helping.
but then, but also after all this, now all of a sudden it's mandatory Demon King worship time. So I can imagine that is maybe some of the old believers are maybe not thrilled.
No, maybe they might have to be forced to do lip service, but underneath they're probably maybe more willing to rebel.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in the eternal words of Princess Leia, the more they exert control, the more will slip through their fingers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is that's the end of the game. It is kind of suggested that this is a great way to start a fantasy campaign, primed for heroes working in the shadows against the Demon King. But for this game, at least, that is the end. So yeah, we'll stop recording and then we'll do a quick debrief.
Sure.